The story of Slender Man, one of the most chilling internet myths to have crossed over into the real world, is one that has captivated and horrified people across the globe. It begins not in the physical world, but in the shadowy depths of online forums, where myths and stories are born and spread at lightning speed. It all started in 2009 on a website called Something Awful, a forum where users gathered to share creepy images and craft horror stories. It was here that a user named Eric Knudsen, under the pseudonym Victor Surge, posted an image of a tall, faceless figure with tentacles lurking ominously near a group of children. Accompanying this image was a brief, chilling caption that added an air of mystery. "We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence was the final straw." The figure became known as Slender Man. The image struck a chord with the online community, sparking discussions, fan art, and an entire mythology around this mysterious figure. Slender Man was described as an unnaturally tall and thin creature, with no facial features except for a featureless, pale face. His limbs were long, and he often wore a black suit. He was said to stalk children, abducting them or driving them to madness. It wasn't long before other users began to contribute their own stories, expanding the legend into a larger narrative. Slender Man became the subject of internet fiction known as creepypasta, short horror stories that are shared online. The Slender Man mythos grew rapidly, becoming part of a larger phenomenon that blended folklore with the internet age. Slender Man, like many other urban legends, flourished because of its mysterious nature. It was an easy story to believe in, dark, elusive, and terrifying. As is often the case with internet folklore, the boundaries between fiction and reality became blurred. The myth spread to various platforms, including forums, social media, and even YouTube, where people posted videos of supposed encounters with Slender Man. He became a symbol of the fear and paranoia that people experienced in the dark corners of the internet. For some, this fear was harmless, just another creepy story to enjoy and pass around. But for others, the fear became all-consuming, transforming into something far more dangerous. One of the most tragic and infamous cases connected to Slender Man occurred in May 2014 in Waukesha, Wisconsin. It was here that two 12-year-old girls, Anissa Weyer and Morgan Geyser, became convinced that they had to commit murder in order to prove their loyalty to Slender Man. The two girls lured their friend, Peyton Leutner, into a nearby wooded area and stabbed her multiple times, leaving her for dead. They claimed that Slender Man had ordered them to kill Peyton in order to become his servants. Miraculously, Peyton survived the attack after crawling to a nearby road, where she was found by a passerby and rushed to the hospital. She recovered from her physical injuries, but the psychological scars from the attack would last a lifetime. The attack shocked the nation and raised many questions about the effects of internet culture and online myths. How could two young girls, who seemed otherwise normal, become so influenced by a fictional character? How could they take a story from the internet and turn it into an act of violence? Many people were horrified, not just by the brutality of the attack, but by the idea that the girls believed they were serving a supernatural force. The case brought the dangers of internet mythologies and the potential for young minds to be consumed by them into sharp focus. It also highlighted the complex and sometimes fragile nature of mental health in children and adolescents. After the stabbing, the two girls were arrested and charged with attempted murder. Their trial was closely followed, and it became a topic of national debate. Were they victims of their own delusions? Or were they simply trying to cover up a crime? Anissa and Morgan both pleaded guilty, though they were found to be mentally ill at the time of the attack. The court found that they had both suffered from mental health issues, including delusions and hallucinations, which were exacerbated by their obsession with Slender Man. Morgan, in particular, was found to have been experiencing significant mental health issues at the time, including schizophrenia, which led to her belief that Slender Man was real and had commanded her to kill. Anissa was also diagnosed with a mental health disorder, but her defense was centered around the idea that she was influenced by Morgan. The case sparked a national conversation about the effects of the internet on young people and the rise of internet-driven myths. It also led to a greater awareness of the importance of mental health treatment for young people, particularly in relation to the pressures they face from social media and online communities. The story of Slender Man, once just a frightening character in an internet horror story, had become a real-life tragedy. It was a tragic reminder of how dangerous the intersection of mental illness, the internet, and peer influence could be. The Slender Man mythos, while still popular, would never be the same after the Waukesha stabbing. The horrific event had cast a dark shadow over what was once a harmless internet story. In the years since the stabbing, there have been many discussions about the impact of the internet on youth culture and how certain kinds of content can have unintended and devastating consequences. Many people, including experts in psychology and sociology, began to question how such a myth could become so powerful in the minds of vulnerable young people. While some dismissed the idea that an internet myth could lead to real-world violence, others argued that it was not the myth itself, but the way in which the girls had become fixated on it, that was dangerous. The story of Slender Man was an extreme example of how the internet could warp perceptions of reality. The girls had become so consumed by the story that they felt compelled to act on it, unable to distinguish between the fictional world they had created and the real world around them. The case also highlighted the increasing importance of internet literacy and mental health education. As young people become more connected online, it is vital that they learn how to navigate the dangers of the digital world. This includes understanding the difference between fact and fiction, recognizing harmful content, and learning how to seek help when needed. The Slender Man tragedy was a wake-up call to parents, educators, and society as a whole about the dangers that lurk in the darkest corners of the internet. For the families involved, the consequences were devastating. Peyton, the victim, has spoken out about the emotional toll the attack took on her and her family. She has bravely shared her story in an effort to raise awareness about the dangers of internet myths and the importance of mental health care. Morgan and Anissa's families, too, have been affected by the events. Their parents were left grappling with the realization that their daughters had been consumed by an online myth to such an extent that it led them to commit an act of violence. In many ways, the tragedy of Slender Man is a cautionary tale for our times. It serves as a reminder of the power of the internet to shape our perceptions of reality and the importance of being vigilant in protecting our children from the darker sides of the online world. The story of Slender Man is not just about an internet myth gone wrong. It's a tragic reminder of how fragile the human mind can be, how easily it can be influenced, and how dangerous it can be when the boundaries between fiction and reality begin to blur. While Slender Man may remain a fictional character, the events of the Waukesha stabbing serve as a real-world consequence of how powerful online myths and stories can be, especially when combined with the vulnerability of young people struggling with their own inner demons. It's a story that will continue to haunt us, as a reminder of the dark side of the internet and the importance of protecting mental health, especially among our youth. In the aftermath of the tragedy, there was no easy answer to the question of how to prevent something like this from happening again. There are no simple solutions, and the case raised many difficult questions about the role of the internet in our lives, the nature of online communities, and the responsibility we all share in ensuring the safety and well-being of our children. But the Slender Man tragedy is not just a tale of horror. It's a call to action for all of us. It's a reminder that while the internet can be a tool for connection, creativity, and learning, it can also be a place where darkness lurks, where myths can become real, and where vulnerable individuals can be led down dangerous paths. As we continue to navigate the complexities of the digital age, it's crucial that we remain vigilant in protecting the minds of our children and young people. The story of Slender Man, from its origins as a harmless internet myth to its real-world consequences, should serve as a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that, while the internet has opened up new worlds of possibility, it has also opened the door to new dangers that we must be aware of and prepared to address. The Slender Man tragedy, though a dark chapter in internet history, can also serve as a catalyst for change, encouraging us to think more critically about the impact of digital culture on our lives and the lives of those we love. Subscribe for more stories and insights into the impact of internet culture and real-life events.